Whenever I start talking about contrast, I think of it then reminds me of, I don't know if all of you are familiar with Esther Hicks and Abraham. They talk a lot about contrast. So Abraham is someone that Esther Hicks channels. And I shouldn't say someone. Abraham is a collective. And a collective of energies. And I put it that way because it's not, you could say beings, I guess, but it's a collective of energy that Esther channels. And they're imparting their wisdom through her, which I've always found so fascinating when people channel. Okay, so what I'm doing here, this was the tree that had the tree stencil where it was the basically the reverse. So I can, I'm just kind of outlining. Now, when I get to the branches, it may be a little more difficult. Didn't think that through. I can at least get the tree trunks outlined. So I'd really like to hear from you as to what your word of the year is, and if you're surprised with what the word was that came to you, if you kind of had an inkling about it already. For me, I wasn't, I was, and yet I wasn't surprised what came to me, because that's what I've been working towards stepping into, is being the teacher, creating classes like this. And my whole goal in the teaching is to help people find ways to be creative, to remind them of their creativity, to show them how they can use their creativity to work through whatever they're going through in life, and to bring fun and joy into their life. And that one is a biggie for me, because for a very long time, I'm going to say decades, I'd forgotten what joy really was. I couldn't explain what joy meant to me, what the word really embodied. I would be in classes at times and be asked, okay, well, what brings you joy? And I couldn't answer it. I would tell them, I don't understand the word. I would have joyful moments at times where I'd feel happy, but I couldn't really say what I enjoyed. And what I discovered this year gave myself the opportunity to actually start exploring what I wanted in life, what I wanted to do, what brought me joy, what brought me happiness, what felt good for me. And that's when I realized I really do bring joy into my life when I paint, when I create, my art. And that's when I decided, okay, my focus is going to be to do this full time, or as close to full time as I can. And, since I stepped into doing this more, I have had more joy in my life. I'm noticing the stress is just disappearing. So I invite you to look at your word, and especially as you move through the year, see how it's showing up in your life. You can look at your life right now over the past year, couple of years, and see how has that shown up in your life, or how have you resisted it in your life? And that was the biggie for me. I resisted, well, I know I was talking about joy a minute ago, but teaching, when we talked about teaching, I had resisted it for a long time. I knew that was an aspect of me. And for a long time, I didn't feel like I was enough. And I'm sure that's how it is for all new teachers, regardless of what you're teaching, is that you may feel that you're not enough, that you don't have enough knowledge, you don't have enough wisdom. That's how I felt. And even though I would be reminded by some of my other mentors and teachers that, I don't have to know everything. I just have to know a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot, just a little bit more than another person. Or have a different perspective and be willing to share that perspective with them, so they can learn to see from that point of view. And then they can choose whether or not to adopt the perspective I've shared, or to keep that perspective in their back of their mind, and then maybe have a little bit more compassion when they approach somebody else that has a different perspective. Sometimes what I share may open up somebody's eyes to something that, well, it is another perspective, something that they didn't see was happening in their lives. Boy, this one's really faint here, so I can't tell where it goes. I'm just gonna we're just gonna pretend it's there. And we'll pretend this one is just kind of like this. But yeah, my biggest thing is to hope that people will enjoy what I'm sharing, and maybe open their eyes to something they hadn't contemplated before. And the biggest thing would be if it helps them to open their eyes to see the beauty in their life. Because for the longest time, I couldn't see the beauty in mine. And when you can't see the beauty in your life, it makes life feel really hard and difficult. There may even be points where you're like, what the heck am I doing here? What's the whole purpose of this? There've been, I can't tell you how many times I felt like that. It's like, I don't understand. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? And I'm not saying that I know the true meaning of life or anything. I will say, though, I think one of the purposes is to find joy in whatever you're experiencing, even to find joy even when you're experiencing hard times, experiencing struggles. And one reason why I feel that that is something that we all need to learn and incorporate into our lives is I look back, or I just look and I see people who live what look to me to be a harsher life than I'm experiencing, and the joy that they can have. You know, when I see like the kids in other countries where they don't have instruments and they find just things in the landfill by where they live. I remember watching this video and they create instruments out of garbage, and the joy they had in playing those instruments. They had joy in playing them. They had joy in, I think, creating them too, or having them created for them. So there's just so many things to learn about life. And if I learn anything that I feel might be helpful for another, then I want to be able to share that with them. Especially if they're struggling and not sure which way to go, what to do next. To show them maybe another option of how they can choose to experience life. So that's why I teach. And that's also why I say sometimes you may agree with what I have to say or to share. Sometimes you might not. And that's okay. I used to scare me about teaching as I thought I was responsible. I would have to be responsible for what people did with what I taught them. And it took me a long time to accept the fact that no, I have to be responsible in how I teach and what I share. What you do with that knowledge, though, is up to you. If you choose to make changes in your life or not to, that is your choice. That responsibility falls onto you, not onto me. And that really was the hardest thing for me to grasp, because I was so afraid of doing something wrong. I have no idea if this is really where the design went or not. That's what I'm doing with it. I know you probably didn't have, you may not have had something as detailed as this. And oh, I forgot this whole side. So you may be off doing something completely different than I'm doing right now, and that's perfectly fine. Do what really feels great for you. I'm just giving you options, ideas of things to work with here. And I appreciate you listening to me as I went on and on about teaching and joy and life. And honestly, I'm not sure what else I said. Sometimes I get in this zone and start sharing, and I'm not really sure what actually comes out. Maybe that's when spirit takes over. I'm not sure if I like this white around the purple, but we're going to leave it. So basically, you got your stencils. If you did stencils, you want to outline, or if you just found little designs in your painting, as you put your colors together, sometimes you can find colors that you might want, areas you might want to outline, like here. I don't know if you can see, but where these colors blended and there's like a harsh line. If I wanted, I could have just drawn some little outlines here. And over here, I could have highlighted a shade, the same over here. If you wanted to draw some hearts in, just to bring some love into it. It's funny, this was pink. It sure doesn't look pink now, does it? It's more purple. I think I'm going to add these I told you I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. I'm going to add in lines for the feather. These kind of remind me, these ribs I'm putting in, they also kind of remind me of tree branches. That's funny, these are getting kind of wavy. All right. I like the white better, I have to say. I do. I like the white better. I'll try this with the silver here. I can't do them upside down, though. I know some people might be able to, but me, I'm directionally challenged. So I need to kind of work with the flow, the way the flow is going. And that's not a bad thing when I say I'm directionally challenged. I'm not using that as like a put down or like, oh, I'm wrong because I'm directionally challenged. I'm just admitting a fact, something I know about myself. So that's one of the things is, remember, if you see something like this where you're challenged in an area, instead of putting yourself down, just learn. It's about learning to accept it. It's like, okay, I need to work differently, and that's something I have to do. It's like I have to work differently. I'm not always good with changing the direction and going like against the grain. Is how it feels for me. All right, so now we've got our background here. We still need to put in our word of the year. So, like I said, my word is teacher. So I'm over here. I got 2 different color blue markers. I've got the dark blue. What is it? One sapphire blue or fluorescent blue? Oh, I don't want no fluorescent. I mean, I don't mind fluorescent, but I'm just not in the mood for fluorescent. I'm shaking it up. And where shall we put teacher? Actually, this is interesting. Normally, I would put it like right here across. I feel like putting it this way. And I'm wanting it this literally that way. So I'm going to come here. Just gonna get it written out first. And then I'll embellish it a little bit. And I used to get all worked up if my letters weren't perfect looking. And if they weren't all lined up. I'm learning to let that go. So you can see these kind of wave a little bit. Actually, I kind of like that. And I'm going to show you this. I am not consistent in how I do some of my letters. I could have the same letter in a word. I didn't even do that kind of R. And I don't do them the same. Like my E's, I could have multiple E's in a word. I'll do one this way. I'll do one this way. My A's, sometimes I write like this. Sometimes I write, like the triangle shaped A. Sometimes I do like the circle shaped A. It just depends on how I feel. I want to add some embellishments to this though. So we'll make this T a little bit bigger. Just get your basic letters started, and then you can widen them out, and then I'll probably highlight it in a minute. This E, there's not much else I can do to it other than I think I'm going to do this. Look at that. I mean, that just changes it. It does. It just gives it a little flair. Now my A, what can I do for my A? My A, I'm going to just bring its tail down. Maybe make that part a little wider. There we go. And the C, honestly, there's not much you can do to a C. We'll do that. We'll kind of make that part wider. My H, I'll bring this a little thicker. Give it a thick piece there. We got that little hangy downy party. Whatever we call it. This E, I'll make that a little thicker right up there. And maybe we'll just do that. Just to be weird. I like to throw some weirdness in there. Actually, I don't like the way that looks. Okay, so I'm just going to give it, there. Kind of gave it a tail. Like a mermaid tail. My R, I could put a little line there. Make this a little thicker. That's just a funky looking R. But that's okay, that's fun. So now we can take our other markers, and this is a light, thin one. Let's see, where's my fat white? I like this white because it's fatter. But the only thing is it doesn't cover that well. And this is my Arteza. They're just not that opaque. And I don't have a fatter. Ooh, maybe I do have a fatter Posca pen. I'm not sure where it is though. So I'm just gonna first make sure he's primed. Yep. Take that. See if that just doesn't show up all that well. And you can also see it kind of picks up the other color. And you can just kind of outline them, highlight them, however you feel like it. Whatever feels right to you. It could have gone completely, and I haven't decided if I'll do that or not. Go completely around the letter, or just do it like I'm doing here, just kind of on the edges. I guess that should come out this way. If I wanted, I could bring the black. Black on this side. Huh. Hadn't quite thought it out all the way. Do that, then. Yep, we're gonna do it this way. Not how I was envisioning this originally, but it's how it's going. I think I'm going to change it up a little bit in a minute, and you'll see. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. This black seems to look better going this over, and I'll go over it again in a minute. Get those places where I messed up. Usually I would use white to kind of highlight and make them pop, but sometimes black works better. It all depends on what you're working on. I have to laugh sometimes. It just cracks me up how I get going and then it's like, no, that's so not going to be how it needs to be. That just is not working. And that's the thing with art, you have to be open to change. Something I haven't always been open to. And I guess as a teacher, you have to be open to change too, because you've got to learn how to change sometimes your style of teaching to fit the students in front of you. Sometimes you have to be able to just change what you're teaching, because, and again, that goes with who's in front of you, because you may start off thinking, oh, I need to teach you. It shows you different perspectives and opens you up to something you may not have consciously thought of before. May have been in the back of your mind, but for some reason it just wasn't clicking, and it just gives you a new perspective to bring it forward. So there. This is my teacher spread for my word of the year. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I wasn't thinking of this before, but so we know what it is, I'm going to put that up here. Oh, white is probably not the color I need for that. I'm going to take a fluorescent blue. I'm wanting to call out. This is my word for so I'm making it look like this is on top of the number or the words. So for 2021. And we'll go through and do like I did here, put some color around it. I think I want to put something else. I'm just going to do thin. Let's see the thin coat of white. Yeah, this white sticks out a little better. So, yep, we're just going to color these in. Or not color them in, but outline them. And then we are done. So I hope you enjoyed this class and our time together. I would really love to see what you created. And if you happen to share them on Facebook or Instagram, please tag me so I could see them, and I'll put those in the information so you know to tag. It'd be just at Kathleen Klippert. My spelling of my name is a little different than other people's, so that's why I'll also put it down so you can on the page so you can see it. I also have a Facebook group I'm starting. Just getting started with it, so there's not a whole lot on it yet, but it's for anyone who takes any of my classes. You're welcome to share what you create in the class. It's a private group, and it is the Joyful Artists Playground. I'll have a link to that so you can on the page as well, so you can check that out. And I'm going to continue offering these monthly journal classes, and maybe one day when these will all be online, and then one day when we can get together again as in groups and classes, I'll offer some in person. I really like being able to offer them in person and just connecting and interacting that way. So please check out my website and check it out every once in a while for updated new classes. These journals, art journal pages are monthly, and they'll be around this. I think I'll be releasing them on the second Wednesday of the month. For now, I think they're just going to be recorded, and I may end up doing them on Zoom. I go back and forth on doing them on Zoom versus just a recording. You know, sometimes there's technical difficulties, and I hate to get all caught up in the technical side of things, you know. So we'll see. I may do a combination of them online, well, via Zoom or just recorded. But check out my website, KathleenClippert.com, and I'll post classes as they become available. And again, sign up for my email, my newsletter if you haven't already. When you first sign up, there's a free tutorial that you'll get. It's called Love Your Layers, and that really opened me up into seeing some of the areas that I was avoiding in my life. And I think the process may help you open up as well, and also receiving messages from Spirit. So again, here's what I've created. My word for the year is teacher. I'd love to see find out what your word of the year is, see what you've created, and I hope to see you in some other classes.